everybody, wherever you are landing today with us in the world. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We are having such incredible conversations. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, this is Magic and Miracles of Healing. I'm your host, Stephanie. And in this particular series, we're talking about repeating patterns and that those just kind of nagging or hamster wheel experiences that we have over and over again that we know no longer serve us, or they don't feel right, or we're just continuing to see repeating patterns over and over again. And we've had such great conversations around this with amazing experts, and we have another one with us here today, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know her along with you guys. We would love to welcome Mónica Esgueva, transformational coach, regression and healing therapist, author, the list goes on. I'm going to let her tell you guys a little bit more about what she does, but welcome to the show, Mónica.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. Now, before we dive into this fun topic we've been talking about here, I want to learn a little bit more about you, and I'm sure the audience does as well. If you don't mind sharing with us your journey on how you landed in this space where you are helping facilitate and heal and transform people's lives, and a little bit more about what that looks like on your side.
Well, I think like most of us, we started like trying to be normal and that didn't work out very well. So I tried to be normal. I tried to have a normal job, have a normal life, corporate. I was living in Paris at the time. I married early, and I had those things that we are supposed to have, and that when we get them, we are going to be very happy and very satisfied. And I found out that I didn't. I was not happy. I was not fulfilled. I felt that I was not making a difference in this world, and my calling was to help. So after a trip to India, I stayed there for 3 months. I was going to go for a few days and stay there 3 months. So when I came back, I said to my husband there, then I just cannot do this anymore. I need to change my life. So I did. I actually left everything behind, and I started from scratch. And that was 15 years ago. And I started this wonderful journey that I am in now. And that means that I dedicate my life in different ways, because I do the transformational coaching. I have been doing it for 15 years now. I teach, I guide retreats, meditation and teaching retreats. I am a public speaker and lecturer. I have written 9 books. I do a lot of things, but the summary of it all, it boils down to trying to help others, to guide others, to get to an upper level, to go a level up in their consciousness, in their inner development. And that means also in their happiness, and leaving suffering behind, and find ways to not like get unstuck, because most people get stuck in their lives and they don't know what to do to get out of that place. So I guess that's my job.
It's such a beautiful gift, and I love hearing everyone's journeys on here. And I appreciate you sharing that with all of us. And as you were talking about that, a big thing that we haven't talked a lot about on this particular series is, and I guess maybe around the phrase, getting unstuck, or being in a mode of, you didn't say survival, and I'm now forgetting the word that you used, but just getting out of pain, suffering is what you, when you're talking
Yes, I
about
do.
suffering. So suffering and unstuck. And I think a lot of us, especially listening today, and myself in the past, and maybe even now in my own general terms, but we experience it, and it's happening internal, whether we talk about it or not. I want to kind of honor that today and dive into that a little bit with you, because suffering can show up in so many different forms. And so can being stuck. We'll just call it the same thing. What is that? What does it mean to you in the work that you've done, or maybe your own experiences? What does that look like?
I think it's an excellent question, because we tend to get confused with pain and suffering and interchange both concepts. And I find that they are very different. There is a part that is like inherent to being human, and that is pain. We have a body, and the body sometimes gets sick, or you hit yourself with something and it hurts. It's things that happen, and it's unavoidable. And then you also have emotional pain. Like you are in a relationship, the relationship breaks. Okay, yes, of course, you're going to feel some pain. You have a cherished dream, and it doesn't become true. Well, of course, you're going to feel some sort of pain. So that is unavoidable. It's like, it's just inherent. It comes with being on earth. So as long as we accept that part, we are going to diminish the suffering, because so many of the things that we do cause us suffering because we want to avoid the pain. And it's like, okay, don't. It's going to happen sometimes, and it's not up to you to avoid it. But you suffer when, for example, something really difficult or even traumatic happened to you in the past. That happened once. When that happens, of course, it's going to cause some pain in you. That's normal. But how many times you repeat that in your mind afterwards? That is what is going to cause the suffering. So that this is one of the causes of suffering. Another cause of suffering is believing your thoughts. We have so many thoughts in our mind. We are programmed to have thoughts that are not our own. The TV programs so many things in our mind, society, our parents, the culture where we are, social media. So many thoughts come to our mind that are not ours. And yet those thoughts, because they pop in our mind, we think that they're real. So we have to question that, because not questioning your own thoughts, they're also a great cause of suffering. If you take everything that goes on in your mind at face value, then you're going to suffer a lot, because so many of those thoughts and those beliefs are not true. Another cause of suffering is believing that, or thinking, or trying to confirm that things are going to stay the way the way they are when you like them. So not taking into account that everything is impermanent is also a great cause of suffering, because nothing stays the same. And if you get attached to those things, or those situations, or people, or things that you own, you're going to suffer a great deal, because they're bound to change. So there are so many causes of suffering, and yet I think we are in a society that tries to just go for a band-aid instead of going to the cause. Okay, we need to go to the cause if we want to have a happy life. And a band-aid is not going to help for long. It's just the band-aid of pleasure, the band-aid of so many addictions, and so many things that we attach to and grasp, because we think, okay, this is going to take me out of my inner suffering. And that is not true.
Yes, that's very true. I appreciate you explaining it in that way, because we talk about that a lot on this particular series. I think we as humans and especially in the society that we're in now, it's this very instant gratification, and like I've said before, you can scroll on social media for a short period of time and you have exposed yourself to potentially 100 pieces of content. And that's a lot of information coming in. And so we end up programming ourselves by doing something just like that. And if we can program ourselves to think that something can happen so quickly just by an exposure on a cell phone, what do you think the impacts are when we grow up in a belief system or with parents that believe a certain thing or traumatic experiences? I mean, those effects have a larger wingspan. And so it's interesting because the journey that we go on when we start to ask questions and do some self-discovery and become aware, it's not always an easy one. And we're not always, the minute sometimes, I'm just going to be honest, sometimes we think we get to a root system and it's actually a lot deeper root system than we ever thought of.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But it's actually the fun part. It's the fun part in the healing journey. It can be the fun part and the tough part, right? But it's that root system is so incredibly important, and really understanding where your results are coming from. The surface level answer to that is by a decision you made. Well, what made you make that decision? And then we go down into the root system, every question we ask. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
we have to understand that our conscious mind is only 10% of our whole mind. So when we take into account that 90% of our mind is subconscious, then here you go. There's so many things stored there that we don't know of. And so many things come from the environment. So many things come from the programming at the school. They come from the programming, as we were saying, of TV, series, movies, you name it. And yet we take everything as if it was our own. And even our own thoughts, we just gather them from somewhere. And sometimes it's just the ego getting really righteous. And thinking, okay, I am right, and I'm just going to demonstrate that to the world. And then, as you said, the roots of our behavior have deep roots. And those roots are, even in my experience, come also from even different lives. Here we have a repetition of patterns. We have a repetition of situation that we have not solved in the past. And sometimes, you just dig out a little bit and it's like, okay, it comes from my childhood. Yeah, that's part of it. But most of the time, even whatever happened in your childhood is not even the root of it. The cause is really more ancient. And we have been here so many times. The soul chooses a long path to go back to source, to get back, to get enlightened and finish the lessons that we are here for. And of course, we are going to get hurt so many times. And at least in this era, we have the tools to heal. But in some other, at some other point, I don't know, middle age or, whatever, like we didn't have any tool, we didn't have any support system to be able to heal. So those unhealed wounds keep rippling throughout the different lifetimes until you heal. And then once you heal, okay, you learn that lesson and you can go on to the next one. And there's so many lessons that we came here for. So that makes life hard, but also very interesting.
It does. It does. One of the biggest lessons for me personally recently have been that I've really had to love and honor that my body processes my really big shifts through physical pain. And when I was experiencing this through my healing journey, I would would get really down on myself because I'm like, God, this is like, it was a physical pain. And it's like, this really hurts. Am I doing it? Like your internal dialogue starts to kick in and you're like, am I doing it wrong? What am I doing? I must be doing something to deserve this, like all of these things end up happening until I had this realization with a mentor of mine. And she's like, have you ever thought about this is how your body processes? Like it's very similar to someone's metabolism. Some people have a fast metabolism and some people have a slow metabolism.
That's right.
She's like, you have your body, your human experience is actually processing through pain. Like this is the way that you digest things. And I'm like, oh, this makes so much sense because my entire journey of healing has been really painful for me physically, and I couldn't understand why. And when I did, it really allowed me to surrender even more into it because I knew what was happening was safe. I knew what was happening was natural and normal for me. And it actually became less painful.
Well, this is a perfect proof of what we're talking about, how if we believe our thoughts, we suffer a lot because before you were believing, okay, there's something wrong with me. And once someone helped you question your own thoughts, and it's like, okay, are you sure of that? Maybe there's another reason. So that's why we have to question our thoughts. We have to investigate. We have to explore. And it's like, okay, maybe I'm not right. Maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe I just need to look further. And in the meantime, maybe it's good to stop beating myself up. And maybe it's good to be compassionate with myself. And maybe it's good to give myself more time. Because if we judge ourselves so harshly, of course, we're going to judge others as well. Yeah. And then we're going to be in a continuous state of fighting with our own thoughts, fighting with people within our heads, because we are not living up to our expectations, fighting because life is not as I wanted it to be, and on and on and on. And then this, we waste our time and our energy, like that is so precious. And we have so many things to focus on that are so positive. And if our mind is focusing on all the things that go wrong, then of course this is going, we're going to be miserable.
Yeah, we're just going to be constantly attracting that into our reality. The universe is going to be matching you. You don't think you're good enough? Exactly. Well, here's a person to show. Yeah.
And actually we are creating it. So So we have to own our own mind. And that's the most difficult thing in the world. It's not an easy thing. But when we do, we take responsibility for our own lives instead of running the lives of other people. We tell people what to do. Sometimes we don't tell them, but we tell them in our minds. And we are so sure about what other people should do to have a better life and to get rid of all the problems. And then if we are mentally running the lives of others, who's running our life? And we do that because we don't want to take charge. We don't want to go deep. We don't want to make those changes that we are sorely needing. So as long as we are doing that, well, there's no hope for us.
It's very true. The really cool thing that we've talked about a little bit as well on this series is, the world is starting to wake up. There are some massive shifts going on, and we're starting to realize, like, hey, we don't have to live in, an environment that's not healthy for us. Hey, I don't actually have to, be overweight. I don't have to live in this picket fence, this white dream life that someone else wanted for me. I don't have to stay in this relationship that's abusive or, toxic. Like, a lot of people are having this very critical first step happening, saying like, hey, I don't have to do this now, which opens up an entire world, which is where we are in this world of like, No, you don't have to. And it's
Mm,
so beautiful on the other side. But get ready because it's going to take some work now that you've made that step. But it's all
mm.
for the greater good of yourself and everyone else around you.
Absolutely. We are at a very interesting time here on earth. We are preparing for ascension. We are preparing to a great shift that is already happening. As you said, we're still in minority, but it still is a growing minority,
Right.
and is for people like us. I mean, I have been here in this on a spiritual path since I was a child, so this is amazing for me to witness, because in the beginning, I remember when I used to go and buy books on spirituality, and this is like a huge library that we have in Madrid in Spain. And there was like a corner with a few books. And now if you go there, the biggest room will be self-help, personal development, and spirituality. And it's a huge one. And it's like, wow, this happened in the course of a few years.
Wow.
So it's wonderful to witness this. And it's also wonderful to see that more and more people want to take charge of their lives. They want to do something that is useful. They want to have meaning in their lives. They want to dedicate their time to a job that makes sense, that has a positive impact on themselves and the world and their family. We are just not to this. There's no point in being victims of society anymore, or victims of our own beliefs or the belief system that other people just gave to us. It's time to make a change, and the longer it takes for you, the more suffering you are accumulating. So I guess it's all about how much are you suffering? Is it enough that, in my practice, in my coaching practice and my therapy practice, I have seen a lot of people. I mean, I have seen people from all walks of life. And I see that most of the people, though, need to hit bottom to be able to work on themselves, because if they don't, they think that, okay, I'm not comfortable. This is not pleasant in my life, but I don't know what is on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not willing to make a change because it takes a lot of effort, and it's going into the unknown, and I don't know what is waiting on the other side. I know what is here, and it's uncomfortable, but I'm used to it. So they grasp that false security unless life comes with a big crisis and it's like, okay, your husband is walking away, or you are fired, or you have a terrible illness, whatever. And it's like, but it's only then that, okay, I need to do something. I can really not continue like this. This is unbearable. And it's only when they hit bottom. So it's up to us. Is it necessary to go to that degree of suffering to be able to say, okay, I no more? Well, for some people it is. Some other people is like, okay, I don't need that. I want to progress. I want to advance in my level of consciousness. I want a better life. I want to change whatever is needed. And I'm willing. But it's really up to each of one of us. It says, this is a world of free will. So nothing is mandatory. But of course, then you need to deal with the consequences, because everything has a consequence. And sometimes people think that, okay, as long as no one is looking, there's no consequences. Well, not really like that. It's every action has a reaction, and every cause has a consequence and an effect on yourself and other people, and you will have to live through it.
Yes. And thank you for reminding us of that, that we don't have to hit rock bottom and be at a place of total pain and suffering, or just like completely giving up. It can be very gentle. It once again is your choice. So I appreciate you bringing that to light for us today, Monica.
But of course, I think that's the beauty of it. It's like we can use our sovereignty as we want. And this is a planet where we come for experiences, and we learn through experience. So sometimes we can learn through other people's experiences. Okay, this is enough. I have seen in other people, and I don't want to go through that in my own life. And sometimes, okay, this is not enough. I need to go through that because otherwise it's theoretical. So, okay, you can try, and then you come up with your own answers.
Mm-hmm. Great words of wisdom. I love them. Before we go, Monica, I love this conversation that we're having. I wanted you to share a little bit more with the audience about your gift to them, your free gift to them, and as well, talk to them a little bit about how they can reach out to you or find you or connect to you if they feel called to do so in any capacity.
Wonderful. Well, the free gift for them is a free ebook on ascension. It's the Gate of Ascension. And since, as we said, we are in the middle of the great shift, so we are preparing for new things that are coming. We have to work on our vibration, and we are going to 5D, 5-dimensional Earth, and it's very promising, very exciting, but we have to do some work on ourselves. So we heal our wounds, we just get rid of our burdens, and it's time to do it. I don't think we have still a few years ahead, but the sooner we work on ourselves, the better. So this is a little guide for that. And
yes, thank you so much. What a great gift.
And then if people want to reach me, they can do so at monicaesgueva.com. And also I am in Twitter with the same name. And I have a YouTube channel as well. So I'm very, very, very welcome for everybody to reach out.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you being on this series and adding this element to it as this whole series has been this very beautiful, these puzzle pieces. And I'm really looking forward to standing back at the end of this and just watching and looking at the beautiful piece of art that it created as a whole, because each one of you has brought this very colorful piece and nice reminder to us on this journey, who, I mean, for anyone that is listening that has stayed this long and is listening through this entire 30-40 minute conversation, something is calling them to listen. And so we strongly encourage you to do something with that, to do something with the fact that you were interested in this conversation, or maybe you related to something in this conversation, and to connect with either Monica or myself or anyone else here. Or if we're not the right people, we're going to connect you to the right people. It doesn't necessarily matter. We're all here to do the same thing. And that's just to help elevate and support each other through our journeys, because that's what we received when we were going through it as well. So I appreciate all of you for being here, especially you, Monica, for adding some really beautiful words to our conversation today.
I'm very grateful that you made this possible, Stephanie. It's very, really, really nice and kind of you.
Oh, thank you. And I thank you, everyone else. And you have a good rest of your day, evening, morning, night, wherever you are. And we send you so much love and support through your journey. And we will see you on another episode